Hi, this is Mary Kay. What I'm going to demonstrate today is how to paint a meaningful sympathy card. So what I did for my friend was I went and I looked up the city in which her mother was born, Piedmont, Alabama, and I I picked some pictures from the images, and then I ran 4 copies on my computer. I cut out one of them. And this is the picture that I'm going to paint for a sympathy card for her mother. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lower this horizon line so that I have less green and more mountain on this tree. I think I'll just put this green in now, so then I'll know where to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet the bottom third. I'm just going to use this one brush. I call this a pencil brush. It is a museum brush. It's got a pencil at one end. They're inexpensive. You can find them at many museums, and they're really good brushes. So whenever I see them, I buy about 10 at a time. So I'm going to put this light green. The way that I'm going to make this is with Antwerp blue. So here's my Antwerp blue. And Hansa yellow medium. That's the green. There it is, just about there. It's very yellow green. Okay, so this is wet into wet. Oh, that's so pretty. I love how the yellow is kind of separating from the blue. So I'm not painting this solid. See how I'm just I'm leaving some lighter areas. It's just not all, I think these are bubbles. Oh, they'll pop and make spots maybe. I see some like rocky browns down here. So what I'll do with that is, so I rinsed out my brush. Now I'm going into burnt sienna right there. There's a shadow on that burnt sienna. There we go. And I'm just gonna kind of, or maybe even add a little bit of sepia to that. So it's a little darker in there, okay. And I'm just gonna kind of blot it in there, just the side of my brush. I could even throw a little salt on there right now, but my salt's tucked away, so I'm not going to. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the sky in. I'm going to rinse my brush really well, and I do not want this mountain to be smack in the center. It needs to be off to the side. So that's my high point. Again, I'm wetting the background. So first I did wet and wet in the bottom, and now I'm going to do wet and wet in the top. So that blue there could be pure Antwerp, or it could be cerulean. It looks like cerulean, maybe with a little bit of Antwerp in it. Yeah, that looks good. And it's all sweepy. So what I'm going to do is just use the side of my brush and just sort of go sweep, 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 sweeping in this way. Wherever I'm touching the tape on these cards, I want there to be paint because it makes a nice edge when it comes off. So now I'm lifting it up so I can see where my water is. I'm going to dip my brush in there and just go in with, this is less paint now. Come down to my, come down to that line of my mountain with the pale paint, because horizons, the way that a sky works is that the darkest colors are at the top and the sky gets lighter as it comes down to the horizon. So I have less paint down here low and darker paint up near the top. In fact, I'll do a little bit of swish swish here to get more of a dark at the top. Okay. Now, luckily this is drying pretty fast because I want to go in and just do this mountain right away. This is fall. This is a fall scene. So there's reds down here, and there's green trees up here, and then there's a little bit of fall foliage on this tree here. So what I'm going to do is just start painting in this mountain here. I'm going to go with a dark green. So the dark green is Antwerp and burnt sienna. If I mix these two, I get this. I love this green that you get with Antwerp and burnt sienna. That's pretty close right there. Okay, so I'm just going to go in. This is my first dry. The paper's dry. If I touch that, it might bleed a little bit. I kind of hope so. And now I'm going to make some oranges. I think I'll just clean this part of my palette real fast. Wipe it up. Okay, so the orange that I'm going to make is going to be Permanent Rose and Hansa Yellow, but I didn't do the part where I had green in there. There it is. See, so this makes such a beautiful orange. It's incredible how easy it is to make this beautiful orange. So this is the I feel like it needs to be a little pinker. The tops of these trees. I'm going to add more pink to it. Oh, there we go. Because those are really red trees. Oh, yeah. There we go. And I'm just going to take those. I'll change that to green a little bit. Okay, so here's our tops of our trees. And then there's more green, but this green is a little bit not as dark. It's more yellow. This layer of greens in here is a little more yellow, so I'll just add a little more yellow to that green. And then I'm going to use my brush this way to sort of put in these kind of trees, the tops of these trees here. And I can see there's really a nice demarcation and a kind of a sharp line here where the green field goes. So I'm putting that in. I can add some pinks to that. Here's the evergreens going into there. I love where it blends in there. I love that. I love where the paints interact with each other on the paper. Okay, I'm going to make a little darker green again. So that's Antwerp and burnt sienna. I'm going to add that over here, just so my eye's not going out the page on the side of the card. A couple trees hanging, going up over the horizon. Kind of a big tree in there. Where else? A little more in here. I think that's pretty good. It seems these greens are a little the same all the way across here. So I think I'll just put just a few different colors into this so that it's not the same all the way across. I have white showing in my paper. I never mind that. It's always a nice touch when you can see some lights, some white paper in your watercolors. And then the last thing I want to do, I think, is just to put this tree up here. Now the trick to a tree is that always paint the foliage first. So here's that red. And I'm going to add a little more yellow to that. So there's kind of reds and yellows in there. And now I just need to paint the trunk in. I have to check if this is dry. It's pretty dry. Because if this is wet, the trunk will, you know, get big. So I'm just going to use the very tip of this brush with sepia. I'm going to start right in here, this lower spot. Let me see, touch it and see how it got big. I do need to let this dry. And then all I'm going to do is paint up these branches and up to the tops there. I can't do it right now. I'll show you this when it's done. And I just have to decide if I like the bottom. I think what I'm going to do on the bottom is add a little bit more of the sepia and the burnt sienna and kind of make more like rocks are showing. This is dry now, so I can get a little more. Definition. It doesn't blur as much, the wet and wet. This is dry on dry now. So it's kind of just, and then there's some streaks here. It goes back. One thing I'm noticing now is that there's just a little bit of red right in there. I wonder if I can put that in. If I can put it in. Kind of went right over it. That's nice. And there was some red in here. Oh, so this is called charging. So this paint's kind of damp, but I'm putting a little bit of red paint into it, or orange paint into it. And so what it's going to do is it's going to charge into the damp paint and make, it's really kind of like a watermark. This is better. Just a little bit more color in this. Okay, and I would like to sign it. So I think what I'll do with I sign it is I'll just put a little bit darker green in this corner, and then I'm going to use my bamboo signer, which has got a sharp end. It's like a pencil, and I'm just going to write M.K. Jolly. A little C with a circle around it, so it's a copyright. And that's my painting. Is it dry now? Maybe I can do this now. We'll see. Let me try. Let me see what happens. I might get a big blur. If I do, I get a big blur, I'll quit. All right, I'm gonna try. See how I'm using just like 2 hairs of the brush right here? The other thing to remember is that tree trunks, this is obvious, but you have to think about it as an artist, that the trunks are the thickest at the bottom, and then as they go up, they get thinner and thinner and thinner. So, and these trees, the branches are breaking off at about 30 degrees, 25 degrees. I'm just going to put a few in here. So I'm just catching just a little where I put the foliage in. That's, I stop painting with the trunk and then go again. So if I'm meeting over here, then I go that way. There might be one sticking out. This is a little thicker coming up here. And then it's kind of disappearing into that there. So I feel like I need to make this a little darker green. So, oops. Oh, that'll work. I put it in the sepia. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to put a little darker green trees in here so that that tree is coming out of that darker spot. Oh, that's better actually. I'll make this side over here a little darker. And up here, I want to just kind of smudge it a little bit. This is in the background, so it shouldn't be as bright as the foreground. Okay, I think I'm done. When you take off the tape, you have this beautiful border. And then I will write my sympathy note in this. And I will send it with a mat so that she can put this on her wall and have a keepsake for her mom. Thanks for watching.